the truth behind the 99% for decades. We've been told that humans and chimpanzees share 99% of our DNA. This figure, while striking, is misleading. This popular cultural assertion ignores a far more complex and fascinating scientific truth. To understand it, we need to break down the number. DNA is a code of 3 billion letters: A, C, G, and T. Early research compared the most similar parts of our genetic code and found that, on average, only 1 out of every 100 letters was different, giving us that 99% similarity. However, this method left out a crucial part of the story. Experts like David Hausler from the University of California, Santa Cruz, and Thomas Marksbond from the Institute of Evolutionary Biology point out that this figure ignores entire sections of our genomes, about 15% to 20%, that have no direct counterpart in chimpanzees. These are areas where DNA was inserted or deleted over the course of evolution. By including these regions, the actual genetic difference expands significantly. In fact, more recent studies suggest the difference between humans and chimpanzees is closer to 10% or even more. A 2025 study, for example, found a 15% difference. And the gap doesn't just exist between species. The genetic variability among chimpanzees themselves can be as high as 9%, a fact that highlights how complex these comparisons are. So, if we share most of our genes, where do the differences that make us so distinct lie? Surprisingly, they are not in the genes that make proteins, but in what's called non-coding DNA, which makes up 98% of our genome. Think of it as an identical toolkit for both chimpanzees and humans. The tools are the same, but the instructions for using them are different. Within this vast non-coding DNA are regulatory regions that act as switches. These switches control how, when, and where genes are activated. A small change in one of these switches can have a ripple effect, resulting in major differences in gene expression and ultimately in physical traits. This is why a subtle variation in DNA sequence can lead us to be a bipedal species, with less body hair and a larger brain, while chimpanzees, with the same toolkit, develop their own characteristics. In conclusion, while the evolutionary relationship between humans and chimpanzees is undeniable, the belief in 99% genetic similarity oversimplifies reality. The crucial differences are not a matter of the quantity of genes, but of how they are used. As expert Katie Pollard noted, we share the same building blocks, but we use them in very different ways to build a human or a chimpanzee. Money